and welcome back to my October horror movie marathon, in which I talk about what can be some of the greatest horror movies of all time, and you guys leave me your thoughts in the comments below after I review each movie. So the next movie that I wanted to feature in this marathon is The Ring, otherwise known as Ringu in Japan, and much like with most J-horror movies, I will be mispronouncing plenty of words and names and places, so I do ask of you to bear with me with that one. I don't know anything about the Japanese language. My plans are to cover both of these movies in this video and to cover their differences and similarities, as well as what makes them some of the greatest horror movies out there. Everyone knows that The Ring and Ringu were literally created to scare the living shit out of you. The Ring is about a journalist who goes to investigate a VHS tape that ends the life of anyone who watches it a week after. And there's something to be said when a PG-13 movie leaves the audience full with nightmares. Ringu is the J-horror movie that caused its American remake, and Ringu is also about a journalist, however this time and her ex-husband, who go along the same exact journey that was shown in The Ring. Many people agree that Ringu is far better than The Ring, although I tend to disagree with this statement, but we're talking about generally here. Most people agree that Ringu is the greater movie and is much scarier. So after doing some digging on the internet and doing some research, I wanted to show you guys the differences and similarities between the two movies, and here are some of them. In the American Ring, the faces of the victims are contorted and bent out of shape, while in Ringu the faces of the victims are frozen in a state of absolute terror. In Ringu, the tape is short and creepy, while in The Ring, the tape is much longer and drawn out, and has many more symbolisms and scares in it. While for some this may add to the fear factor, many complain that it is a pointless add-on. Additionally, in Ringu, the ex-husband is said to have the sixth sense, while in The Ring, our main character's son seems to have the sixth sense. The ex-husband in Ringu was also a lot more trustworthy and trusting of our main character than in The Ring. In Ringu, you would see that the ex-husband immediately trusts his ex-wife after she explains the events that have been occurring to her. The biggest difference that I find in these movies is the difference between our antagonists, Sadako in Ringu, and Samara in The Ring. In The Ring, Samara is constantly in the audience's focus, as the American remake spent plenty of time fleshing out the character of Samara to have more than what she did in Ringu. We see Samara's childhood room, the tapes of her in the mental institution, and we even see her at the bottom of the well. Meanwhile, Ringu didn't try to explain who Sadako was, and rightfully so. Ringu left a lot more to the imagination of the audience, and it has been seen that Japanese horror audiences tend to be a lot more forgiving towards the lore of a certain monster or creature not being as explained and drawn out. So Ringu made much more sense to some, as it did not draw out the background lore and waste a half an hour of film explaining Sadako's origin story. And now that I've covered the differences between the two movies and you guys know more, let me explain why I allowed both of these movies to be on this marathon and inside of my own list. The two films, in their own sense, are both classics. They both rely greatly on psychological and atmospheric horror themes, which is something that a lot of movies today stray about, and it will be a theme that you'll be seeing occurring a lot inside of this marathon. The films are much more effective at scaring the audience than an axe murderer hacking up a teenager in today's American horror movies. However, watching the films today might not be as scary as watching them at their time of their release, because many young people today really don't know the fear of sticking a VHS copy of The Ring or Ringu into your VHS player and watching it. I mean, that part is terrifying on its own because the movie's about a VHS tape. So because that is something that people don't experience anymore unless you still have a VHS player and a VHS tape of Ringu or Ring, then that is something that we have to take into account as we kind of judge this movie. The Ring took the topic of horror very seriously, without really going over the top. And The Ring is definitely one of the scariest horror movies that I have seen. And it may be that way until I, of course, watch the Korean remake of it. The Ring is clearly a classic, as it spawned many horror genres that you see today. This included its inspiration on The Grudge much later on, and the whole pale-faced Japanese girl horror trope that we see was truly created in the movie The Ring. And the long hair is something that we see played in horror movies still today. The white face, the white outfit, the crawling, the noises are all things that we remember and are all things that had a very big impact on today's horror movies, which is probably why this thing is on this list, is because it was really kind of groundbreaking to see a cursed VHS tape, and that's something that everyone can relate to at the time, and it's something that was pretty scary at its time. So, what do you guys think? Do you like Ring more than you like Ringu? Have you seen either of them? Do you think that The Ring is one of America's greatest horror movies? And was Ringu a good example of what horror movies should be here in America? Could either of these movies be the greatest horror movie of all time, to you or to me? Leave me your thoughts below and tell me what you guys think about this.